It doesn't matter. There's no time for a history lesson. If we don't save the Queen, there will be no more history to write. You are making it right now." The grand hallway was an impressive sight, one that never failed to impress, no matter how many times he'd walked along it. Now, however, he had no time to dawdle. The sounds of battle were close. He could hear the crash of something heavy striking wood, followed by shouts and muffled noises. They were already at the door. Without speaking, the trio launched themselves out into the grand hallway and at the cluster of traitors trying to break their way through the heavy doors protecting the throne room. They ran silently, trying to close as much distance as possible before they were spotted. One of the traitors must have heard them, however, for he turned and shouted a warning. It was almost too late. Kirell and his men were nearly upon them. "For the Queen!" he shouted, surging forward with an extra burst of speed. Kirell's men echoed his cry, and they leapt upon the traitors with a ferocity born from fury at the betrayal of their house, of all that they held dear. Blood flew, spattering the walls and ruining the ancient pictures. Men screamed, bones broke. Ursa died. It pained Kirell to put down members of his house. For so long they'd struggled to maintain their numbers, and now he was helping the humans out, committing their savagery for them. Yet he had no choice. As a soldier, a guard of the house, it was his job to protect it, and Kirell didn't shirk from any task. As he fought, his body changed. Brown fur turned black as blood matted it down. It continued sprouting along his arms, the limbs themselves thickening. Fingers became claws. His jaw reshaped itself, one jerky movement at a time, jutting forward just in time for him to latch his powerful jaws around the throat of his opponent and tear it free in a welter of blood. Outnumbered, the trio fought like berserkers of old, giving in fully to the battle lust singing through their bodies. Kirell didn't feel any of the wounds inflicted upon him, though he could see the blood flying from his body as he was pushed back by the weight of numbers. They were up against twice their number, and though they were all soldiers in the House Guard, so were their enemies. Kirell pushed any thought of defeat from his mind and fought on like a crazed beast. Slashing and biting, he felt the blood drip from his jaws, the tangy taste of iron filling all his taste buds as he dug into his enemy over and over again. They weren't enough. Carr fell, and Kellis was hurt. A moment later, Kirell was the only one left on his feet as his remaining soldier staggered and fell. "I'll hold them off," Kellis roared, letting himself complete the change while Kirell tried to defend him. The half-man, half-bear creature disappeared as Kellis bulked up, his limbs jerking and readjusting themselves, the painful process completing itself a few seconds later. Nothing about this process was smooth or pleasing to watch, but nobody was going to argue with the end result. Almost 2 tons of furious grizzly bear launched itself at the traitors, scattering them like bowling pins. Eager to join in the fray, Kirell used the distraction to let himself complete his own change. Agony flooded his body, but he clamped down on it immediately, welcoming the pain, embracing it as he became the instrument of war that the now dead Captain Kven had trained him to be. 2 decades of harsh drilling had turned him into the perfect combination of a grizzly bear's strength, size, and speed, all paired with a human intellect. Kirell wasn't sure why none of the traitors had shifted before he'd arrived, but he wasn't about to give them the option. He fell upon the survivors like a hawk stooping on its prey, tearing into them. His jaw snapped closed, bones crunching.